but I can give you the top three bottlenecks that I see over and over again, across all the conversations that I've had with entrepreneurs on my podcast or my clients. So the number one, there's no particular order. Number one is this willingness to control everything. And so you end up, everything is tied around you. You end up making all the decisions. I'll give you a typical example. Financials. Many entrepreneurs want to keep the control of their financials because they want to make sure, it's their baby. They want to make sure that it is financially healthy. But it is good. This practice is good. You should be on top of your finances. But there is a difference between being on top of your finances and signing every checks. Or even signing the payroll. I actually had an entrepreneur on my podcast who was telling me that after 5 or 6 years in the business, he was still signing, all the checks for his employees. And because he was traveling a lot, sometimes he couldn't sign the check, so the employees would have to wait for him to come back. How do you think his employees felt? So that is the number one bottleneck. Number two is the inability to let go. As your business grows, hopefully it will grow. You're starting from, this stage of where you do everything by yourself, basically. You start hiring people and suddenly you got 10 people, 20, 50, 100, etc. You're growing your revenue too at the same time. But as you're going through that process, that scaling, you need to make sure that your role evolves. And you cannot run a company with one employee the same way that you run an employee with 50 companies, right? And so making sure that your role evolves, for instance, means that the bigger the company becomes, the more detached you should be from day-to-day operations, right? Because you need to focus more on strategic thinking. You need to think more in terms of how can I make sure that my staff are happy and engaged all the time. But you can't do that if you don't let go. And this is actually one very critical area that I always talk about most of the time, on most of my podcast interviews with entrepreneurs. This is apparently one of the biggest things to do. It's letting go, because it means that you also have to start delegating to other people. And delegation can be very scary sometimes. And we go back to the first bottleneck, keeping everything tied around you. You want to keep control. I can give you an example of a client that I work with on that particular bottleneck, letting go. But we didn't know that when we started working together, that we didn't know it was his bottleneck. But when he approached me, he said, I want to grow my business, but I don't know where to start. And also I want to make sure that, I am still involved in project management because I love project management. I love dealing with clients. I was like, great. But then we started digging. And what we realized through the coaching sessions is that he was actually afraid of letting go project management because in his mind, it meant that he would lose quality. He would lower his quality standards that he has spent years building. But if he had to hire someone to replace him as a project manager, he was afraid that this person wouldn't be able to deliver the quality expectations. So that's one of the examples of not letting go. And as a result, what happened is that, his business could not grow because he was the bottleneck, because he was dealing with all the projects. And while he was dealing with the projects, he couldn't deal with the growth of this company. And the last bottleneck is lack of clarity of direction. Usually, you're very clear why you start a business at the beginning. All entrepreneurs, they have that. They remember that day when they say, I'm going to do it. I know this is why I'm going to do it. But as the business grows and years pass by, you may find yourself in a situation where you lost track of what Simon Sinek called your why, okay, or your purpose. But every entrepreneur that I know of, they are starting a business because they crave impact. And that impact drives their direction. But if you lose track of the impact you want to make, then you will lose track of direction. And then you end up with a growth that is not really structured. You end up chasing every opportunities, but not really achieving anything because you're lost.